You are listening to 101.5 FM. In the studio, I have the lovely Lee Chippendale. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning, Lucy. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Getting all prepared for Christmas.
I know, it's just right around the corner. I'm
Yes.
getting excited.
Are you?
I really am. I love
Okay. You love Christmas?
I adore Christmas.
And all the prezzies, huh?
Oh, it's decorating. I'm just a fan of decorating. Really.
Good, you can come and
All the
decorate my
glitter.
place.
Oh, happily. What have you got on for me this morning?
Okay, this morning we have a few things, but the first thing we're going to talk with Robin Lackman, who is our REIQ Zone Chair for the Northern Division. So Robin and I are going to discuss quite a few things that have happened throughout the year with real estate. We're also going to go on about what the REIQ does and how it plays a part with agents in town and, well, throughout Queensland, and how those things affect and their information helps guide us, and also different courses that are available with the REIQ. So I'd like to welcome Robin. Hello, Robin.
Hi Lee, thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of a chat today. How about an overview of the current market in our area, Robin? What do you think's happening? I know what I think's happening.
Okay, look, I think the media's had a large part to play in a misconception for our local area. When you hear the media reports and you read the newspaper reports, they're very generalised.
Yes.
And quite often, you would know, you go out to visit people that are looking to put their property on the market for whatever reason,
Yes.
you know, financial or moving to another workplace. They have a perception of where the market is only based on what they've seen or heard.
Yes.
And then when we start to tell them the real facts, they get a bit shocked about all that.
They do.
And of course, you know, quite often they say, "Oh, gee, I'm not going to go with that agent. I'll get another agent that'll tell me some good news."
Yes.
But when you hear those facts and figures on the radio or in the media, they are very generalised throughout southeast Queensland and quite often throughout Australia.
I would agree with that.
But then we have to fine-tune it down to our area.
Yes.
And certainly the last 12 months has been difficult.
It has, and so often people will say, you'll go into them and appraise their property and give them the facts, and they'll often say, "Oh, but the house up the road was," I'm picking a figure here, "Oh, the house on the up the road, it's sold for $350,000. Well, it may have been on the market for $350,000,
Exactly.
but when you go back to them and say, "Look, here are the facts. It did not sell for $350,000. It may have been listed for that, but in actual fact, it may have sold for $320,000. And I'm only just picking figures out of the air here, and that is often quite a shock to them.
It is. And look, that's the reality.
It is.
Why is that so? I think in our particular region, we have had a lot of people that have been retrenched from their employment.
Yes.
And we've had a lot of people move away and then through work situations have had to come back, and all of that influences our local market. But I think we're still not going to see the light at the end of the tunnel for some time to come. It may only be a few months, but then again it may be another 12 months.
Yes, but as I say to people, you know, I think the market has improved to what it was 18 months ago.
Yes.
I think, as you say, we probably might have a little bit of a tough time, but I think if people, and I've always said, and it's not always easy, and everybody's situation is different, but hopefully if you've bought your property and made your payments and perhaps made extra payments and you may have done some improvements on your home, hopefully if you do find yourself in a position that you need to sell for whatever reasons, hopefully you will get at least back what you've paid for it over the last few years. And it's a tough market.
And your in and out costs.
Yes.
And look, I think people often say, when's the best time to sell real estate?
Always.
And there's never a best time. Today's the best time.
Exactly.
Because whatever you're choosing to do, you know, you lose on one, you pick up on the other. It is a merry-go-round.
Yeah. Are you listening, Peter? Peter is a gentleman that's asked me this question many times now. This is from another agent, Peter. It's the truth.
Yes.
Today is always the right time because it depends on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people will say, oh, perhaps we'll wait till after Christmas. Everyone will be busy with Christmas. But traditionally, we sometimes have that bit of a surge in the market over the Christmas period because people have time.
Yes.
They have time to come and look, to attend open houses, to visit different agents, get an overview of the area.
Yes.
So perhaps now, today, is the best time.
Well, actually, it's funny that you say that, because I actually worked with an agent who every Christmas, he sold houses throughout the year, obviously, but every Christmas Eve, he'd be really excited. And I'd say, what's wrong? Well, why are you so excited? He'd say, Christmas Eve, I always get one away on Christmas Eve. And he always did.
And I can relate to that. I can relate so much to that, because there was a lovely family. They were strawberry growers at Wamuran for many, many years.
Yeah.
And I never could figure out why it was, but always on Christmas Eve they'd come and buy an investment property.
Yeah. Isn't that strange?
And every Christmas I have fond memories of that family, because I did some great business with them over the years.
That's what I say. It's always, everybody's situation is different, and the right time is always when it suits your circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, you've covered a little bit there about misconceptions of values of properties and so forth. We've seen the reducing in bank interest rates, which is good news for people paying off their mortgages or wanting to buy. We've seen a lot of changes in the structure of lending criteria.
Most definitely.
Yes.
And this is more prevalent where younger people are involved, because mortgage insurers, if they haven't got a substantial deposit these days, mortgage insurers become involved, and the process becomes much more difficult for them.
Definitely.
So I think advice to anyone looking to come into the market is to make sure you've got that substantial deposit to begin with.
Yes.
Gone are the days when a lender would give you 100% lending.
They're long gone.
And those lessons have been learnt from what's happened overseas in the markets over there.
Most definitely.
Where people just didn't have the capacity to repay, and they didn't have anything to start with. And that's why we say, oh, the damn banks, but we shouldn't, because all that they're really doing at the end of the day is watching out for people that they don't put them in a situation where they get into the property and then they can't afford to keep it, and they're then in some situations forced into a mortgagee sale.
And actually in Australia we were very fortunate with the governance and the rulings that our banks here in this country have, because a few years back in America at Christmas, I'm talking probably 4 years ago now, they were calling it jingle bells, because the people would just come in, have their keys in the envelopes, and virtually throw the keys across the counter to the bank and say, here's your house. But sadly could just go and get another house that,
Exactly.
Whereas at least here in Australia, there are some rules and regulations, and it does, in the long run, it does protect everybody, even though we all do a bit of the bank bashing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think too that people looking for finance are more educated these days.
Much more.
They have the internet where they can go on and have a look, and they can put a scenario into the internet with some figures, and it will give them an example.
Gives them a guide.
A guide.
Yes.
And I think also where a lot of people, and particularly younger people, and I think it's just the lack of experience on their part, that because a bank or a lender or the internet says they can borrow X amount of dollars based on the information they've put in, it's not necessarily so when it comes to the property that they choose to buy, because valuations are done, and the valuations
yes, you're quite right, because I actually spoke with Angela Evans, who is obviously a mortgage broker, and the conversation we had a fortnight ago was on online applications or so forth for lending.
Yes.
And whilst she wasn't saying don't do it, what she was trying to explain to people is, whilst you might do that, there is so much more criteria and information that's required and needed that, you should still go through a financial institution or a broker or what have you in order to know exactly where you stand. Because the worst case scenario, you go do that, you think you've got everything covered, you think you can go out and buy a home for, say, $350,000, you go and put a contract on a home, all your hopes are up, the vendors' hopes are up, agents are excited, and then all of a sudden you find out, oh my goodness, I can't borrow that much money, and everything just falls apart.
Yes, you've fallen short. And again, there's when you're buying or selling, you have very strong emotions.
Very much
and,
so.
And it becomes a very stressful period for everyone, including the poor old agent.
Yes.
Because we're usually the ham in the sandwich.
Exactly.
And have to pass on the bad news.
Yes,
most,
we do.
Most
We
times.
do. Yeah. So we might have a little break because Lucy's looking very intrigued over there. And give us a chance to have a breath. Everybody, we're back again. We've just been listening to some lovely songs there with Lucy. I have Robin with me, who is our zone chair for our Northern Division with the REIQ. And we've been discussing things regarding our market and lending criteria and different things like that. What we'd like to touch on now, and as agents ourselves, you often ask people like you are buying here in the area, why did you choose this area? So some of the things Robin and I would like to discuss is the reasons given from buyers as to why they do choose this area to relocate to, because it's a great area.
The demographics of buyers in recent times has changed.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of older retired people moving to the area, and again, as you said, I always ask, what's brought you to Caboolture?
Exactly.
They're from far north Queensland,
Yes.
or down south or out west somewhere, and certainly I think the number one. The one point that they bring through very strongly is the medical facilities.
Yes.
Because they're at that age when things start, knee replacements, hip replacements, so forth.
Yes.
And we do have very, very good facilities in and around our area here.
I agree with that.
And if not in town, within a very short drive.
Yes.
Or a very short
all the
rail.
specialists are here.
Exactly.
The hospital facilities are excellent. I know people complain about different things, but I mean, generally speaking, if ever you have to go to any of the hospitals in our area, they're very good at attending to you. We have all the specialist facilities. We've got everywhere that you can go for your blood tests if you need. And as you said, Robin, I mean, if it's another specialist facility that's required, it's only 45 minutes to Brisbane. And I mean, if they don't wish to drive, a lot of the time there's the train for them. So we're close to everything.
And we have a very good bus service available in the town as well. So if they choose to live a little bit further on the outskirts of town, they can still commute quite easily.
Yes.
So, that's a big change that we've seen in recent times. And the other thing I think that comes to the fore there also is that people see Caboolture still as a nice place to live. There's still
big country
some
town
greenery.
sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a country town that grew.
Yes.
And I certainly know when we came here some 20 plus years ago, it was a small country town, and we've grown with it.
Most definitely.
But we still have the beautiful parks. We still have, jump in the car, drive over to Bribie on a hot day.
Exactly.
All of that still lends itself to people wanting to come to the area and raise a family here, if that's the case, or spend their later years here. And again, the community. The community as a whole, there's an awful lot for older people to become involved with.
Yes.
And there's certainly a lot of assistance in their homes for them as well if they need that.
Yes, there is.
People such as the Blue Care and all those sort of things all add up to it being still a good place to live. And regardless of what you may see or hear or read, we are a reasonably secure area to live in.
I believe so. Yes.
Look, there's always going to be people that are going to find reason to complain about something.
Yes.
But if you took a general view of the area, if you asked 10 people in the street today, I think they would still say to you that it is a nice place to be.
Look, I don't disagree with that. And I mean, actually, if you look at figures, this area continually improves with statistics with growing. We're continually up there in the top 10 within the state and have been for the last 10, 12 years, even with our global financial crisis and housing, having a tough time, and generally everybody having a tough time. This area has still grown. So people do want to come here. It is still affordable. We do have all of the facilities, and there are many community groups and volunteer groups and Rotary and all those community groups that all get in and pitch in and help people. And it is a great area to live. I mean, I came here 25 years ago and fell in love with the place, and I won't ever be moving. And it's been interesting to see it grow and see the changes, and you drive down the street and you think, now hold on, what used to be over there?
Yes.
Because there's another building gone up. And I mean, the likes of your Harvey Normans and the Good Guys and Masters and all of those bigger companies, they don't come to areas if they don't foresee the growth and the facilities and the things in the area for their business and for people in general.
Well, I certainly know that nearly 19 years ago when I moved from King Street to Morayfield Road, everybody said, why would you go to Morayfield Road? Nothing's going to happen on Morayfield Road. Well,
I think they were wrong.
Have a look. And for the little bit of convenience that there is with the roadworks at the moment, in a few months' time we're going to look back and say, oh, gee, how do we survive without all that new roadwork?
Yeah.
That's all enhancing the town and the environment that we live in. And look, people are concerned that from a commercial point of view, that we have a few vacancies around the place, but that just happens. That's just the transition that we'll go through.
But it's
you
not
can't
just
have it
here,
all.
Robin.
No, exactly.
It's everywhere.
Well, just last week I was down on the Gold Coast, Coolangatta, and again there are many areas down there, little pockets that have buildings that are vacant, shop fronts that have boarded up. So it isn't just our area. I think if you looked at the big picture, we haven't done too badly.
No, look, we've
survived.
We have survived, and look, and we will continue to, and things will get better. And I think we're going to start to see that. And I think slowly confidence is coming back, and we're seeing, the banks starting to lend a bit more money, and obviously there's always concerns with job security, of course, but. Without going into all the negativity of everything that's happened in the last few years, it's been worldwide. Everybody's had to adjust and cope. And, we just have to work our way through it, realise that the situation, we haven't got the boom days anymore, they're gone. We probably won't see them for many years, but slowly we will start to see, prices start to go up slowly. And everything does these circles. It's proven over history. You can go back to the 1890s. You have this, 7-year thing where things go up and down. And I mean, we're in a bit of the down, but we'll start to go up again.
Well, certainly a wave that we go through in real estate.
Definitely.
And when we see the Sydney and Melbourne markets starting to move, we know that within a period of time, whether it be a couple of months or longer or sooner,
it will happen here.
The wave will come to us again.
Yep.
And, I think a little bit of a struggle makes you a better community.
Yes, it doesn't hurt.
And I think that we are all survivors. We all believe in the same things in life. We all want to provide a good life for our families. We want good education. We want good medical facilities. And when you look across our region, we have that.
Yep, as they say, we have it all.
Exactly.
Going on to a little bit of the information now directly with the REIQ, because you are our zone chair for this division, and obviously from an agent's point of view, and the public out there may sometimes not understand why as agents we do go on about the REIQ, but they're our body that help us be conversant and know what's going on with our legislation. They work with the governments to try to, work out any changes and things that may affect us as agents and you, the public, as purchasers, landlords, tenants, and so forth. This year they've reintroduced the breakfasts, of which there's been 2 in our area, which is great because the people from the REIQ come out, have a breakfast for the agents, and that's great because the agents get to go there, talk to them, find out directly if there's any changes happening, things we should be aware of. We have the opportunity throughout the year to attend courses as well, and that's part of the being principals, we have to go and achieve 2 what we call CPD achievements so that we are aligned and qualified. But I guess from our point, Robin, and why people out there would say, okay, well, why do you choose an agent that is a member of the REIQ?
Look, people ask all the time about this because they say, well, tell us the difference between an REIQ agent and somebody who's not.
Yes.
And as you just said, to be affiliated with the REIQ gives you a good standing, but also if a seller or a buyer are not happy with the performance of an agent, there is another place that they can go to voice their objections and concerns, and hopefully then we would come back and adjust, address those issues. Like any other business, real estate business is no different. There has to be some guidelines and some standards that are set, some best practice standards that are set, and the REIQ aim to do that.
Most definitely, yes.
And my role as the chair for this area was to facilitate. We've had the 2 breakfasts. The first breakfast we had over 92 attend,
Yes.
and the last breakfast there was about 68. They're
That's
good
pretty
turn-ups.
good. That's a very good
Really
turn-up.
good turn-up.
Yep.
I remember only a couple of years ago going to a breakfast where there were only 8, 10,
Yeah.
12. So I'm very happy that the agents in our area have taken it on board and have made that decision to lift the standard and to fall into line as a professional real estate agent,
Yes.
be well informed, operate best practice in their business, not even as the principal, but just as an independent salesperson within a business,
Yes.
operate under the guidelines of best practice from the REIQ.
Well, everybody wins if we all do the right thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And, well, I think, again, going into, best practice and so forth and everything like that, that then can lead on to such things as your contract, okay, and your warning statements, and whether you should seek advice prior to selling or buying or what have you. Pitfalls of not seeking legal advice before buying or selling. What's your opinion,
Yes,
Robin?
look, sometimes I know as an agent, and I've been there, you get frustrated when Mr. and Mrs. Jones says, oh, look, prepare the contract, we've made the offer, and you're expecting them to come in and sign off on the dotted line.
Yes.
They arrive in the office and say, oh, we're not sure about this, can we take it home and read it? I have a practice in my office of saying, this is a legal binding document that you're about to sign.
Yes.
Please talk to somebody, get some advice before we go down this track. And as good as an agent can be, there is always one little area that they may not have touched on with the buyer or the seller,
Or may not have explained it
Fully.
to the extent that the buyer or the seller needed the explanation.
and we know what we're doing.
Yes.
But to a seller, it might be the first time in 30 or 40 years they've sold a property.
Yes.
To a buyer, it's the first property they're buying. It's the biggest investment you make in your life.
And it's an important one.
Very important one. And I'm more than welcome them going off, taking the contract off with them, and having some independent legal advice prior to them signing.
Well, I think it also helps, again, we discussed there before, you get the contract, everybody's getting excited, and you said before, it's a stressful time, and it is. But you get excited, and then we all know about the 5-day cooling off period, and you don't want, you want the contract to go through. So the more at ease that the vendor feels or the purchaser feels, the better. So if they want to go and get that advice, terrific, go for it, not a problem. It states clearly on our warning statement that they can. And I think then if they choose to do that, it's not just the agent telling them this is what it is. If they're a little bit doubtful, go to your solicitor, get it checked out. I would say probably 99% of our clients don't. They're quite happy. But that 1 or 2% perhaps that might, the same as yourself, no objection please. Go ahead, go see your solicitor, discuss it, come back, and then we'll go through it. Because if you're happy and confident that what you're signing is right, then you're happy and confident that you've been and seen your bank or your financial institution, and you're pretty happy that you think you've got the amount of finance that you require. Really, the only last thing you have to really worry about is your building and pest, and hopefully that goes through and should be a pretty smooth transaction.
Exactly.
And everybody's happy.
And Lee, it comes back to the very first day that if you're thinking of buying or selling, the very first day that you meet the real estate agent, if you are not confident that that agent knows what they're doing, has the standards, best practice in place, and that'll come across in the conversations that you have at the very, very beginning. If you don't trust that agent at that point in time,
You'll never feel comfortable.
You're never going to trust them to sign off on a contract with you.
No, you won't. That's exactly right.
But the REIQ certainly are looking to make all parties far better aware of the implications of signing contracts for selling and purchasing, and those ongoing courses and breakfasts just enhance that information that's being delivered to the public.
Most definitely. Lucy needs to put some advertising on, which helps keep the 101.5 going, so it's very important. Again here, we're back again. Lucy nearly cut me off. Okay. What we're going to speak about now is providing a power of attorney for legal documents. Now, this is very important, and a lot of people actually don't have it. So, Robin, fill me in on what you're...
And Lee, it doesn't just apply to older
No,
people.
it doesn't. I have it. And I'm not that old.
For young people that are travelling overseas,
Yes.
or away at college or whatever, power of attorney is a document that a solicitor would prepare for you, and it's just giving that authority to another person. Doesn't have to be a relative, doesn't
No.
have to be
Someone you trust.
family, someone you trust, that can sign on your behalf in your absence.
Definitely.
I've had a couple of occasions recently where people have had their property on the market, but they planned a holiday, and sure as eggs, they go
power of
away,
attorney.
they fly out of Australia.
And that's when you get the
someone wants to
contract.
buy the house.
Exactly.
And again, when you're buying a house, you make that offer. You want to know that you've secured the property. You don't want it to go on for a week or
No.
a fortnight waiting.
Exactly.
So power of attorney, I think, is something that everyone should consider having, for this very reason, that if you're not available to sign yourself, someone else that you trust and that you've discussed the
Obviously, you've
issues with
discussed the issues
can,
with them,
can
most
sign on
definitely.
your behalf.
Yes. Yep.
And it has saved. I know 2 contracts in the last couple of months that it has certainly saved for me.
Yes.
And I have one going through today that's
Yep.
exactly the same.
And also as simple as being able to list your home. They can sign
yes.
for that.
Yes, they can.
We obviously need to see the documentation as agents.
Yes.
But it can be very handy to have, because you could be planning that and something happens, you have to rush away, but you need to get this to happen. So there's the power of attorney. Go ahead, get it done, get it organised, and you can go about your business and do whatever you need to do.
Yes. Something that's really changed in the real estate industry is the electric transmission of information, because we all email and we used to, once upon a time put it in the envelope and snail mail it
Yeah,
off.
wasn't that
and
great?
wait days. So now we can do it by the electronic transmission, and also, still people using fax machines. But that's just another example of how our industry has changed over the years.
Yes.
Gone are the days, and I'm probably giving my age away well and truly now, but I can recall signing people up with a carbon copy on the bonnet of a car at 6 o'clock at night out at Whoop Whoop somewhere. That was how we used to do real estate. Of course, now it's all computer generated.
Yes.
The documents are all in a particular format.
And must be sent in the particular format and
Exactly.
received in the particular format.
Exactly.
All of those things.
Yes, and
Yep.
why do we do that? To protect our commission at the end of the day.
And to
don't
protect
get paid
everybody, yes.
until it's all done.
Exactly.
But power of attorney is something that I would certainly recommend to people to have in place.
And as you say, go and talk to your solicitor. They will explain it all to you, and that way you know where you're at. You walk away, you've got it sorted, not a problem.
Yes, and I think that's very important for us to have in mind.
Now, anyone out there that may be thinking of having a career in real estate, it's always interesting because everybody thinks selling real estate is just so easy. That it's anyone can do it.
It's funny.
It's amazing.
Over the years, I've had different ladies in particular that would come to me and say, I want to get into real estate. And I say, well, that's wonderful. And what do you think we do in real estate? And they would say to me, oh, well, you drive around in a nice car and you get to go and see nice houses, and, you have your hair done, and,
You don't have to do much.
and by the way, I want to do it between 10 and 2.
Exactly.
5 days a week. Well, sorry,
Wrong career.
that's not what the job is about.
Yep.
The job is you really have to be passionate about people.
You have to like people. It's not just about houses. You have to like people.
My son reminded me this morning that everybody says, I love being in real estate, but I don't love the open house. I love being in real estate, but I don't like the after hours and the long phone calls at night and driving to deliver a contract. I love real estate, but I don't want to work Sundays. Well,
That's real estate.
that is real estate. It's really 7 days a week and sometimes long hours.
Yes. And it's not just about, it's not just about listing a house and getting it out there. I mean, I always say to my clients, look, we've signed the contract, that's terrific, that's great. My services, whilst it's a binding and legal contract and we cannot change or do that anything now, it is now a legally binding contract. I'm not gone now just because the deal's done. Anything you're not sure on, anything you don't understand, if you're not sure on how the building and pest works, if come and talk to me. We will still be in touch. We'll be working with you through to the end of the transaction. So, real estate isn't just about getting that signature on the contract. You've got to work that deal through. If there's a building and pest problem, keep in touch with your purchaser, your buyers, your sellers. Keep them informed. It's seeing that deal through to the end, and then hopefully you've made a friend.
Exactly.
Hopefully you've made, well, maybe not a friend, but you've made a good acquaintance in those people. They've trusted you, and hopefully if they wish to sell or buy again, or they're speaking to someone, hopefully you've built up that that trust with them that they've been comfortable.
One of the most common complaints of real estate agents is lack of communication.
Yeah, and I think everyone falls a little bit here now and then. I'm not saying everybody's perfect.
Sometimes people say, well, no news is good news, but I think we have a role that extends beyond the signing of the contract, as you said.
Yes.
It extends right to the settlement and even days after the settlement.
Most definitely.
And I think you've got to have compassion, because, as I said earlier, it's the biggest decision most people make in their life. Mm-hmm. It's also a very stressful time. Everyone second guesses themselves. Have I done the right thing? Mm-hmm. Was that the best price I could have got, or should I have waited? Mm-hmm. And again, sometimes that first offer is the best offer you'll ever receive.
Yes.
But you have to be comfortable in the fact that you've done the right thing and you're doing it for the right reasons, and you then, those relationships, as you say, go on for many years afterwards.
Most definitely.
And many of us base our real estate success on our past performances.
Yes.
But it is vital that that you interview a real estate agent these days, and then the one that you're comfortable with, that's the one that'll see you through the process right to the very end and beyond.
And if you wish to do a career in real estate, REIQ, they have courses, and they're great, and they, you go either to Brisbane or to the Sunshine Coast and you do your courses, and they have very experienced staff and personnel who are very qualified that take you through those courses. But Robin, you may be able to tell us some of where they actually are available and where people can go if they wish to find some information.
Yes, the real REIQ hold the courses quite regularly.
Yes, they do.
Sometimes you might go off to a course at the Sunshine Coast, Maroochydore, and there might only be 6 people in the class.
Sometimes there can be many, many more.
Yes, and sometimes they take 20, 25 students in a class.
Yes.
And all age groups, from very young to retired people that are wanting to come back into the workforce.
Yep.
And think that they would like a career in real estate. But it is governed these days. You must go and do that course before you can actually start work in a real estate office.
Most definitely,
and
yes.
that was a welcome decision that was made a few years ago now, that the industry became more accountable. It
Which
was more
I think
controlled.
is a good thing.
Most definitely. More controlled, more accountable, more informed. And you really need to go and have that education of those few days. Certainly at Indooroopilly, where the REIQ office is, they have courses in there. But right throughout southeast Queensland,
yes,
the REIQ have venues. And there, if you go to the website, you'll see where the courses, and they're every few weeks, they're repeating themselves. So you have that opportunity to book in and do the course, and then you receive your certificate of attainment, which then gives you the opportunity to then approach a real estate office
and ask if you can be
for a
employed.
position as a sales agent.
Yes, yes.
There is a big difference between a sales agent and a licensee.
Most definitely.
I hear people say, I've got my real estate license, but in most cases they've got their salesperson's certificate to operate as a salesperson, not the licence, because the licence is a different course altogether, and entails a whole lot of other avenues of responsibility as far as trust accounting and so
Yes,
forth.
definitely does. Well, Robin, I hope everybody out there has enjoyed that. I hope there's some people out there that are thinking of becoming real estate agents, because it's a great career, but you do have to love it. So I thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and thank you for joining us, and have a lovely Christmas.
Thanks, Lee. I've really enjoyed being here with you.
It's been good to have a chat.
Let's do it again in the new year.
Sounds good.
Lovely,
Thank you,
thank
Robin.
you.
Thank you. Listeners, we're back again. I'd just like to mention, and I know this has been touched on and spoken about by Joe when he's been on in different shows, but I had an invitation through the week, or a few weeks back, from a local plumber who had got together a whole group of the local plumbers in town and was arranging a talk by a gentleman from the Plumbing Industry Council, and it's all to do with the notifiable work, with the legislation that has been changed and the rules that have changed, and how that affects the plumbers and how that affects you, the people out there with your homes, and what can be done with your home with plumbing works, what needs to be a certain form, what needs to be reported. Now, I won't go into all of that aspect of it because that's more the plumbing side of it, but my property manager and myself went along to this meeting, which, by the way, was very interesting. There was about 40-odd plumbers, and I think myself and Lynn and one or two other ladies, so we were definitely outnumbered. So there's not many female plumbers out there from what I can gather. But on a serious note, from a rental perspective of looking after your property and us arranging work to be done on your investment property, not a great deal has changed. It's obviously the secret to all of it, which you wouldn't do otherwise anyway, is ensuring that the people we get to work on your properties are obviously licensed plumbers, which we wouldn't do anyway. We wouldn't do anything different than that. So they have to provide certain formworks and paperworks that have to be registered through the Plumbing Industry Council, and they only have a set amount of time to register those forms, otherwise they can incur fees and fines. But I think the thing that I took from it was, if there is new work being done, or just say you have a shed and you decide to have a toilet put in your shed, that's terrific, that's fine. But the point that was questioned and asked was, whose responsibility is it, or how does that then get put through to council records? Because obviously it's not the council, it's the Plumbing Industry Council that are doing this work. So the important thing for you to remember as a seller, or because when you sell your home, searches are done, and if things aren't finalised, that can affect your sale. So the thing that they did mention was that obviously the plumber will get a reference number for that work that they do, if it's a new home or if it's a new build. But if there's something new that's added to an existing building or shed or so forth that's to do with the plumbing, example, a toilet put in your shed, there is a reference number that is given. That is registered with the Plumbing Industry Council. Now, that is not automatically forwarded to the local council wherever you live throughout southeast Queensland. So if something is done when your home is being sold and it comes up that that's there and it hasn't been put through to the whichever council you're living in, then obviously you would have to pay for that to be done. So the point of interest was, you can actually go onto the Plumbing Industry Council's sites, and you can get that reference number, record it and keep it on your records, so that you go to sell, you've got the information there. That can save you some fees. So, but look, just make sure you get that, or get the information from your plumber. So I just think it was interesting to note with that, it still has to go through a due process, and you don't want your home being held up over something that hasn't been finalised, just due to the fact that you can ask the plumber or the Plumbing Industry Council to give you that reference number and that plan that has to be drawn, and you have it on your record. So I just think a little point to remember. And also for the homeowner out there that's not doing anything through an agent, or it's just your own home and you want some plumbing work done, just ensure that you do get yourself a licensed plumber, and they will be conversant with the rules and regulations that have changed. And also, if there's any certification or numbers that they need to give to you, keep them, ask them, and keep those on your records in your filing cabinets with your paperwork to do with your house. So look, that's probably it from me for this year. I've loved being here throughout the year. I won't be speaking to you again until after the new year. So I hope all of you out there have a lovely, happy Christmas with your family and friends. And if you're driving, please drive safe. And to all of you and our families and friends, I hope 2013 is prosperous, healthy and terrific for everybody. So have a great time. I'll speak with you all next year. Bye-bye, Lucy.
Thank you, Lee. It's goodbye from me as well. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm going to leave you with my favourite band. This is Tusk by Fleetwood Mac. Have a good weekend.